Yes, greetings and the best of salutations. That would be prayer, power, peace, prosperity, and patience. Um, just trying to get some understanding of my humanity, uh, diagnosis of it. Um, I know that people only respond to the extent of the injury that has been done to his or her humanity. And we know the word humanity itself linguistically is a carving out. And as we learn to carve out our existence on this planet Earth, I believe it was Kwame Ture talks about the evolutionary process from tribe to clan to family to nation to continental people, and not so much in that order, but I'm just dealing with the evolutionary process of an evolving, you know. Preferably, me living here in this in these states, in what is called the United States of America. I trace I traced my ancestors some time ago. I can't recall when, but it was I went back to the latest I went was to 1700s, and what I found, I didn't go to beyond to the shores of Africa, but I know that they were from Loudoun County, and I saw that the women, they the ones who went far in school, where the males just they worked. They didn't necessarily exceed what's called higher education, the eighth grade. Uh, Um, Chinka Diop says that the only differences amongst us is climatic when it comes to, I think, human beings, the environment in which you come out of, and that's how you interpret reality. It's called anthropology, and biologically, I don't know the environment in which the outside environment which my mother was raised, and I don't know, it could possibly uh, in her interactions, it could have possibly had an effect on my. I do not know what just happened there. I really do not know how did that transpire. I do not know the extent of the condition of that environment, because I realize that you are born in a condition, placed in a situation, surrounded by circumstances, consequently due to some previous activity that has taken place. And I've always come to learn to know you can best diagnose uh, any person for me by the circumstances of the conditions in which they come out of. So therefore, one must become a master of his or her circumstances, because circumstances makes us other than ourselves. I like to deal with the word clan, how it is defined. Well, you know how problems are defined will determine, how they should be solved. And some would say, well, who's given the definition? But but anthropology, based on how one interprets reality and the circumstances, the condition of the circumstances which one come out of. Clan is that group of people all descended from a common ancestral in fact or belief. I like this term, knowledge of it, knowledge of one's common ancestry, because I always say that we have to deal with our common humanity, that which will ensure cooperation and trust, our common humanity. And one should be about promoting the value of self worth. And so a common ancestry. Remember, I said earlier that when I went and traced in the records of my common ancestry, I went back to the 1700s, uh, the early 1700s, I believe it was. Yes, and found out was on my mother's side, at least, not my father's side. But we know here in America there was a law that was written in Maryland, Virginia. If your son is born of a mother who was a slave, that your child would be born a slave. And we know that you're not born that way. Someone you know makes you as such. But some would say slavery is an act of self-preservation when um, you go to work and and the money that you make, and you have to and those funds will be exhausted. So what is happening here is to take advantage of one's labor. Yes, and when you take away one's labor, a means of productivity, um, that's putting a person in a position to be a slave, because the mind at its best is to be productive. The mind at its best is to be productive, and he or she always want to provide for his family. I'm still dealing with this some understanding of my humanity and the diagnosis. Remember, you can tell the best diagnose a problem or any people by the condition of the circumstances which he or she come out of. A belief and a fact. A tribe is a socially, politically, ethically cohesive group of people. A tribe. We see, people call tribal warfare or people at odds. So you can tell, as an African proverb, you could tell, when you deal with social conflict, it's dealing with some illness or some misfortune that has been taking place. So I always say that social stress leads to mental pain, and mental pain leads to physical harm. So tribe is a socially, how we socially interact with one another. So it deals with our social interaction skills when it comes to some understanding of my humanity or humanity, and when it comes to the diagnosis of it. You know how in some society who's material driven, that their social interactions with one another is based on wealth. Based on wealth. So and then ethically, how you go about when it comes to associated with one's moral behavior, even though morality is something that uh, is a term possibly came about in this maybe 1700s or 1800s. Uh, how I saw a group of people and how they were reacting in a manner way, and people thought it was something that was going on with them spiritually. Uh, but they was acting very immoral. But they realized that they was resisting being oppressed, being enslaved. So politically, politically cohesive. That which when you look at glue is a cohesive that keeps things together of a group of people. So it is the social aspect, it's the ethical aspect, and it's the political aspect that keeps people together as a tribe. So if there is tribal warfare, it is due to the cohesiveness, that's something that is not keeping them together socially, ethically, politically. Yes, that a fact or is that a belief? Then we deal with family. Family is a group of one or more parents. Uh, you can have a biological parent, and you can have a one who gave you birth. and then you it said parents, and then you also have one who has not biologically gave you birth, but has raised you, Remember, you can tell the condition of a people. You can tell best diagnose a people or a person based upon the condition of the circumstances in which they come out of. Environment. So family, how it is in the family household. I don't know why this thing is keep going up like this, and I don't even know if it's going to record. Yes, family household. Um, yes. So what was the family like? Did you have a loving, caring family? And even if you did have family, what was the outside influences of that loving, caring family? What was the outside influences that came about to disrupt and disturb the structure or the foundation of this family and its environment? A family, once again, a group of one or more parents. Then we have people who adopt other children and bring them into their family and make them a part of their family and raise them, such as people who need that type, who need the assistance of care and loving and showing compassion. Yes, for that particular individual who needs to be in a nurturing, caring family environment, and their children. Uh, Children, I remember, children are the extension of parents' social relationships. Uh, yes, and I dealt with that earlier when it comes to tribe social relationships. There are other groups ethnic groups who do not even want their children really to marry outside a certain class or a group of people. Um, and if there is newfound status, why would you bring someone in, even they may be of your same ethnicity? Well, why would you bring them in and disrupt your newfound status as the society in which you have become a part of? So he or she who controls who established the economic relationships out of necessity determines the status of that relationship, social status. Okay, family. Once again, a group of one or more parents and their children living together. That's a cohesive group living. Now, they could live together. Back that up. You can have all the organization in the world, but not cooperation. You know, need to cooperate. Living together as a unit, as a unit. All the descendants, common ancestry, common ancestry. That's your ancestral pool. As I said, I did my research on my mother's side because remember, parents, it take two, um, yeah, uh, to like to coexist. Co is to coexist. To coexist, and two means unity, uh, becoming one. One unit. A common ancestry or pedigree or associated with a genealogy. Yes. And as a family, we need to learn our order, duty, and responsibility to communicate our humanity as a family. Yes. So then we deal with the nation. We want to get to that which people are able to identify with. Um, a nation, a large body. I always like to say large bodies associate with information, and I tie information with water because the source of all food supply, is from water. Yes. People united. We have here in United States of America, um, United States of conditions. Yes. Other things that go with that. as well. But needless to say, I will proceed on. But a common, but by a common, united by a common descent, common descent. Uh, yes, through down through the ages, uh, history, culture, or language. History, that which we can identify with as a nation, culture, that means put things in a historical context, uh, whether who's writing the history, but it's a history that is written, and that history is written to the point, and that it is upholding either a belief or a fact philosophically and ideologically. Two things that is two other words that come into play. One is more overtly than the other. We will get to that. Um, Language inhabiting a particular country or territory. So you use that which you can identify with as a nation, as a family, as a tribe, as a clan. Hmm. When you put it in this historical context, when it comes to culture, and when it comes to language, remember it is climatic that makes a difference, and that's based on anthropology, how one interprets his or her reality. Here it is, more overtly when it comes to this um, some understanding of of, uh, of, uh, of humanity, of my humanity, when it comes to the diagnosis, uh, and the influence, the outside influence is of the residing uh, country is more political rather than ethical. So the laws that governs it is more political than ethic. So that they can what can be agreed upon, what one's come to identify with, is to agree as a nation and ideology to be more political rather than ethical. The law that governs this uh, ideology, the rules, the policies, is more political rather than ethical. The common origin of this thinking uh, determines the climate of the society. Makes no difference where you reside on this plane of existence. But if it's more ethical rather than political, or should there be a balance between the politics and ethics? So that's the best way I can try to have some understanding of humanity and its diagnosis, because we know that the origin of politics, Tories, Whigs, horse thieves, and bandits, and murders, and institutionalization of political parties to justify that particular behavior. Yes, and that becomes the rationale. It becomes more political, like which is the Steve Coakley would say is the lowest accommodation of science rather than ethical. That even when there is a moral obligation, it is not nothing that is natural. It is more political. Then we see to best have some understanding for me of the role of politicians and the and even those who consider to be of some type of celebrity status, and how that common or original thinking has descended down on the people, uh, and they feel as though that they have to interact with one another uh, in that way, where there is no accountability for the consequences of one's actions, and it has become accepted as the norm. It has become accepted as the normal thing to do. Um, Even when it comes to other things that we become addicted to, um, that throws off the imbalance of one's, for lack of words, one's moral obligation. Yes, um, in his evolutionary process, as I will call it, the maturation process of understanding, tolerance, temperance slash temperament, confidence, and respect. And these are the five channels that I try to communicate from, because the understanding, you got balance. When you have balance, understanding speaks clearly. And then you see in that the result will to restore social credibility. And then the tolerance is designed to readdress social diversity, because when inspiration comes down, one's aspiration goes up, moving from a persecuted minority to a privileged majority is universal uh, brotherhood or sisterhood or familyhood. For the global community, the global to be the model for the global community, uh, when it comes to the balance, if I may say, of not being too political and less ethical, not being too emotional without being less logical. And someone would say, some way may take the ethics more so than the politics. But we're talking about this cohesiveness, of not for just the the benefit the few, but to benefit all. Uh, but we must first come into complete civility. The aim is accountability. I believe Noble Drew Ali talks about the falling humanity. Uh, SB Fuller, the businessman, said everything you see is an opportunity for you to capitalize off of, to make money. And I say that the greatest resource that we have is each other. But yeah, so and then the temperance, that's self-control, because that which can arouse us, I know, and that which is offered as a promise. Um, and the biggest crime you can commit is fraud, is delusion. It makes one become very irrational and mentally incapacitated. And we can see the mental state of people in this society. Um, False promises, fatalism. There is no cohesion, socially, ethically, and even possibly politically. Only maybe a few, but there is intra conflict, socially, ethically, and politically. And then, but when there's intra conflict, you don't want to harm each other within that uh, tribe, and you go out and you hurt someone else. But in hurting someone else, you hurt the ones who really love and care for you the most. It's tribal, tribe warfare. Because the war is psychological. The battleground is ideological. One's philosophical views. Fact, fiction, truth versus falsehood. Truth is the cause that impacts the results of one reality. But yeah, then this temperament, the attitude when communicating with precision, a clear image to the world through five channels. It is the to revise social coherency, to be social coherent. We have this fixation on things, and our core values are so fixed that when someone else comes to challenge it, and and they may be telling you something right, but you deny, you run away from it. That's cognitive dissonance, which is overlooking the obvious. And then the confidence, understanding, tolerance, temperance, confidence is to replenish the social continuity, this evolutionary process. Think from clan to tribe to family to nation to continental people. I believe, I can't recall technically what Kwame Ture said, that which has been interrupted. And Dr. Du Bois talked about the way we do business with one another has been interrupted. So therefore, um, there must be payment must be made for that. Yes, and I'm talking about the evolutionary process of humanity, of our human interactions, our social engagement one with another, in the best of ways. Because I think Brother Imam Warren Muhammad said, we make an excuse to use that which is required of us, that is to use our intelligence. Because I think we're all, he said, we're all born the same. It's just the use of our faculties, that makes us different. And then climatic, and then thinking the opposite, climate makes a change that's based on anthropology. But the last channel of communication of understanding, tolerance, temperance, confidence, then there's respect, and that is to reclaim social solidarity. And in that social solidarity, we realize that we do have what is called a moral obligation. How can you be have a moral obligation when you have no conscience, that you have depersonalized yourself in the manner and way in which you treat a fellow human being. And if you don't see that person as a human being because you yourself has not been treated as a human being based upon the psychology of one's mentality, and that, I mean, when it comes to the psychology of one's mentality based upon anthropology, how you interpret reality, or the reality that has been given to you is assimilated reality. It's not your reality. That's a reality that someone has given to you because someone's heaven is contingent upon another person living in hell. Hmm. Well, some understanding of my humanity or humanity. Diagnosis. Get to the gift of social literacy. As I always say with common humanity. Cash App is CH Mission. The mission is to promote the value of self worth. Our social interactions lead to our business transaction, and that's how we effectively coordinate our power. Business is a perpetual motion. Before there is motion, there is sound. There is the call to worship. Higher level of understanding. Higher level of affection. Higher level of communication. A higher level of developing one's intellect for the betterment of one's humanity. Locally, regionally, nationally, internationally. Till the next time, talk to you.